Hey everybody, it's Tim McAmis back in the shop this afternoon, and want to take some of your time to talk about carbon fiber roof panel. So this kind of goes along with our little series we're doing on some of the rule changes and giving a little bit of input on why I think they're a good idea and try to inform you guys so that you know what's going on ahead of time, so that if you're building a new car or updating an older car, you can be current on the rules and also be safe at the same time. So several years back, there were some issues on the track, and that's where most of these rule changes come from, where there's a crash on the track and something happens to a driver that promotes a rule change or a rule addition maybe. This was a rule addition, and so there was an accident. I believe the car was at St. Louis at the NHRA race of Pro Mod, and the driver had a really bad wreck, and the car rolled over, the roof came off the car, and his arms got through this area, and you could see when the car rolled over, you could see his arms sticking out through the roof, so not good. What came from that was this interior carbon roof panel. And so this is a panel that covers half of the interior of the car, so it covers the area where the driver is. So when this was implemented, we had to retrofit these things. Now obviously the body's on this car, and you can't get up in there and do any welding up against the tubes that are up tight to the roof on this thing. So the kit that we made, and it really works good, it comes with some straps that go around the tube, and they have a rubber outer protective layer on them, so they fit all the way around the tube, and then they clamp to this carbon panel, and there's a little machine screw that fastens that in. And they really work good because you can kind of put them in a convenient place and mark it and drill the hole and put the screw in. Then there's a little center roof support for it and a finished edge, and really nice setup, and it works perfectly. So one of the changes that was made at the end of 2019 for these rule changes was, so obviously there were some more crashes, okay? And some of this stuff gets tested during crashes. And so let's say the car gets over on its roof and it slides for a long time. You can see this quite common. These cars are very easy to roll over when they get on their side, and sometimes they end up sliding on their roof for a long ways because they're like a bar of soap. Once you get them on the roof, I mean, they slide forever. There's nothing to really stop them. So what happens is it's almost like putting the car on a belt sander. It starts grinding away at the roof and the tubes and whatever it can get to until this thing stops, because that asphalt down there is rough, and it just takes and starts planing the top of the car off until it comes to a stop where the safety safari can get it. So what they witnessed was a couple of those crashes that actually ground through the roof and into the tubing into this roof panel where it was attached. What they did was they amended that rule so that if you have a new car that's built after January of this year, 2020, it has to be fastened with welded on tabs, and those tabs can't be flush. They need to be a 1/8 of an inch below the top perimeter of the tube. So you can imagine if this is the 1 5/8 tube that is the main hoop, that tab has to be 1/8 of an inch below this top axis, this quadrant of the tube. It needs to be 1/8 inch down. And the purpose for that is so that the car can slide on the roof and it can grind on this tubing and not get to that tab. If it's a retrofit and it's cars built previous to January 2020, the strap solution still is fine and it works perfect. They understand, and because we have meetings with them, long meetings on the phone with the technical department and some of the major builders about these rules, and so we get to voice our opinion on, hey, you can't go back and weld these tabs on there. It's just actually not possible without taking the roof off of the car. So they understand that, and they're aware of the cost issues that it would create to do that. So retrofitting after January, the car's built previous to January of 2020, January 1st, you can still use the strap option, but after that, they're going to want that to be a tab welded down 1/8 inch, okay? And that rule right now just implies, it's applied to Pro Stock and Pro Modified, all right? Maybe in the future it might work its way down into Top Sportsman or some of the other classes, but it doesn't matter if you're not running your car in Pro Mod. But if you're building a new car, and you're putting a roof panel in it, because it's a good idea for any car, as you're building that, take that into consideration. You put those tabs in there. Now this rule may not ever apply to you, but it's a good idea to move that tab down a little bit off of the outer perimeter of that tube so that you can let the car ride on that tube and grind into it and not into the tab. So like I said, this may never ever apply to a class that you're racing in, but if you are building a new car and you're putting this thing in and you got the body off and you're welding up the chassis and you're putting all this in at that time, use the tabs, move them down 1/8 inch and weld them in place, and that way it will be totally safe if you ever get the car upside down. It's got some area to grind into before it ever gets to your tab. So just another little tech tip that might help you if you're building a new car. Like I said, doesn't matter what class you're running in, it's a good idea, so think about it. If you have some questions or you need some more help, give us a call and we'll be glad to help you out. Take care.